I hate it too. I worked up there at Crane 33 years. I've been gone for 7 now. Oh,
Hey, Tom.
somebody's like, oh, God, I can't remember your name.
Call to order the County Council meeting of March 13th. Good morning and welcome. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first order of business, number one will be the meeting minutes from February the 14th. They've been sent out electronically, and I think most of us have a hard copy of them also. Comments, concerns?
Move to approve.
Motion by Mike Sprinkle,
Second.
second by Matt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I'll just abstain. since I wasn't
Darren
here.
abstained because he was absent. Okay, the next order of business is the Wage Committee. And as you guys know, guys and gals know, sorry, that is a very important function where we have a committee that looks into the compensation for the associates of the county. And normally we have 3 members on that. Kind of to set you guys up on it, the decision has to be made by the May meeting date, May council meeting date, so we could take action on it. And then the information is relayed to the department heads, and by the end of June, they have to have their budgets in. And it's a lot less confusing for the auditor's office if we have all that already put into the budgets instead of trying to change them when we go to budget review. So is there anybody that wants to be part of the committee this year?
Everybody's excited.
I'm gonna go ahead and be on it, and if there's no volunteers, I'll just appoint a few folks, if that's all right. So Marilyn, as the vice president, I would like you on there. And probably Matt, since if you're willing to.
No, I've done it the last 4 years, so 3 years. I'd be happy to serve.
Okay. So Matt, Meredith, myself, Marilyn. Thank you very much. Okay, salary ordinance amendments. First one we have is with the coroner's office. Is there anyone from the coroner's office? Okay, that,
You want me to speak?
that
about
was approved in the budget.
Yes, so this was already in the budget. They're basically taking what they used to have as contracted employees, they're using for actual part-time employees. So we need to get this adjusted on the salary ordinance. There's no money approval here. It's just getting it on the salary ordinance for us to be able to pay it through the payroll side. So we can't have an employee getting a W-2 and a 1099.
Right.
Just a procedural change.
Correct.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Tony.
Second.
Sorry, who was the second? Mike?
Mike.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed? Carried 7-0. Okay, the next issue, B under number 3 is the health issues and challenges grant. Anyone from the health department? No? Okay. So that's a $10,000 grant in total,
Correct.
and $8,115 is for salaries, and then you'll see down later we have a appropriation for the perf on that, and it is a grant. I wish someone was here because I kind of thought we were moving away from the grant, going to straight with the state funding, so I would like to ask them about that, but it is a grant, we know that.
It's a 2 years. I think this is the
Okay,
second year
okay,
of
this
this
is the
grant.
second year of it? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve, Tom.
Moved by Matt,
Second.
second by Marilyn. Any other discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, carried 7-0. Okay, the next wage ordinance amendment will be for adult protective services. Okay, so this, we talked about this a couple times now. This is a bonus that was approved in the budget. I think none of us really realized it was actually getting approved since we had got rid of it for the past 2 years, but it has been approved in the budget. They are requesting those funds, and it would be for bonuses.
So this was already in the budget, and it would, again, just need to be on the salary ordinance. We noticed that it was not whenever it came time to pay.
Well, it was
It's $3,000, I think.
remember it had to do with, because they couldn't, Dan explained that last time.
But we were kind of led to believe that we could not actually change that part, I think, at the
Yeah.
time.
Correct.
Okay.
But I think in the future,
Right,
since we have tried to get rid of all the bonuses that are undocumented, basically,
right.
that I think when they do their budget this year, we need to make sure that they understand that they can only do it according to the longevity program. They can't they can't be directly impacted by the longevity program, but they can be held to the same guidelines of that for this. So I think for next year, we definitely need to make sure that happens.
Yeah, after clarification, I have no problem, and I will move to approve.
Okay, moved by Matt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tony. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried 7-0. Okay, the next item of business is the auditor remote claims and entry. Dale, you want to talk a little bit about that software, or Jennifer? Okay. Oh, you're the backup today. You're the wingman. Okay.
So basically, we have had several departments wanting to try to move forward with the digital system, and currently we are still putting and processing claims. They're all coming into our office digitally, but they're still having to put their invoicing with the Excel spreadsheets that they're having to create. This process is an add-on to our current software, and basically they will be able to have access to our software, and they can physically put it in there and put the digital copy of their invoices or their receipts or whatever it is that they're sending to us straight into the software, and it'll come into us for audit. And then at that point, then it will come before, like normal processes through our, to be approved by the commissioners.
So it saves a step, and it probably avoids errors.
It'll help some errors, and to my understanding, as they're inputting it, and they can see stuff on their end and being able to be in the software, as they're putting it in, if they see that their line is going in the red, they're gonna see it before we do. So hopefully it'll help keep them more accountable and seeing stuff live as well. So we've already started in with a lot of our departments, and Dale's been helping us get the software in their offices so they can run and see their own reports just as if they were doing live banking with your local bank and your own checkbook. So we've been trying to move more into those processes. And so this is just another add-on that I've got several people asking, and so we would like to try to move forward in that. It is a $4,000 increase to our software per year. $2,000 of it is for the maintenance and the support with the software, and $2,000 is for the storage capability with all the stuff going into our software per year. So,
Sounds pretty straightforward.
You're gonna save that in efficiency and opportunity costs, so
correct.
I have no
believe so.
problem with that, yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Jen? Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Matt,
Second.
second by Marilyn. She's quick today.
Closer.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No, 7-0. Okay, the next is Emergency Communication System, Sheriff Allison. Oh,
Mr. Steve.
Steve.
Good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
So for the record, Steve Sturgis, Chief Deputy with the Sheriff's Office. So back in December, we had heard a presentation from Mike Dyer with ECS on adding a fourth tower site and upgrading the other three throughout the county. He also presented information on what it would cost to purchase all new radios for the fire departments. The understanding was the council would consider looking at funding the infrastructure while the sheriff or the fire departments would look at purchasing the radios. So I wanted just to share with you guys some information on where things are at right now. So on the infrastructure side, there are still a handful of dead areas around the county that make communication difficult. So by adding that fourth tower and upgrading the other three, it would eliminate those areas. And the towers would be upgraded with this Next Edge technology. So this Next Edge stuff, it's not military grade, it's not commercial grade, it's first responder grade. So it's built for our line of work, it's more reliable, and it would allow the first responders to communicate throughout the county with each other on their portable radios. So, you know, the portable radios, that's what we carry on us. The mobiles are the ones in our vehicles. That's huge for us, because when you're in a dead zone and you're near those areas or in them, the portables really don't work. You have to make your way to a vehicle. Once the infrastructure's in place, you know, the sheriff's office, the EMS, the county highway, we would immediately benefit from that. We have our radios, so it eliminate a lot of those dead areas for us. Now, the cost of the infrastructure, and this is on the numbers that I have here from Mike this week, is $597,939.
That was for the infrastructure.
Correct.
I thought last time he told us it was 525,000 to do the infrastructure.
So I don't remember what his numbers were from.
I do, I wrote it down.
Okay, good. But I knew this was a little higher than that.
Yeah,
And I don't know why the difference is or where the extra money came from at the moment. On the radio side of things, the number that I have for all the radios for all the fire departments would be $265,624. And we've come up with $165,000 towards that. $100,000 is coming from E911. Sheriff Allison has agreed to contribute $50,000 to it. Our newly elected prosecutor, Abby Brown, has contributed $15,000.
how do you know that the funds can come from the E911?
That's one of the approved spending
You can do radios.
radios.
Yeah,
for-
but if we're already spending 470,000 or 370,000 of the E911 funds, and we're only taking in 400,000, so there's not any room to add any more unless you already got it in there.
So,
Right now, we're taking in about 400,000, just,
So basically what Tom's alluding to is E911 funds is something that we've been looking into, that we're eating into the cash. And we've got salaries with the dispatch and stuff going in there. So to his concern is that the overall, based off of funding that coming out of there, would have to be highly looked at
Right.
before we spend money out of there, before it affects
in
other budgets.
in 2023, we spent like 360, or budgeted 360,000. This year's 370,000, and the fund that's only bringing in total 400. So there's only $30,000. There's not a lot of money in the E911 fund, is what I'm trying to tell you.
so there's not a lot of extra left over
No.
now? The last
Right now,
spread-
I would say 30,000, but the spend is actually going up a little bit, or the budget request amount is going up a little bit each year.
For 2024, we are spending more than we are bringing in for the budget, beyond any additionals that were brought in.
Well, we're budgeted to do that.
Correct.
We don't know what the exact spend is gonna be,
Right.
of course, but,
So my understanding was that, yes, you know, whatever's brought in is pretty much budgeted for the year, but not all of it is ever spent, and that's how we've had a surplus build over the years.
yeah, there's
My
not-
knowledge, there was a surplus in there.
yeah,
There is a cash budget, but we are spending more than what we're bringing in based off the budgets. I can get with you and show you after.
Okay. Well, that may change some things.
it may.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you, go ahead, and
No,
we can
no.
talk about that in a minute.
No, that's, well, that 265 then, that would actually include, city fire is included in an amount. But if you were to deduct their amount from it, you could, being conservative, you could probably reduce that by 30,000. So, you know, our ask was gonna be that if the council would consider funding the infrastructure plus the remaining difference for all the fire radios.
Yeah.
But we may have to go back and look at things now.
Yeah, I think we do need a little more work. First of all, the vendor, and maybe Sheriff Allison knows, and you might, Steve, also. You know, I think we did the big upgrade, was it 2 years ago for you guys? The prior vendor was terrible, we weren't getting the good coverage, so we went with the new vendor.
Correct.
And so how is everything working on it? Has it been 2 years?
Probably every bit, yeah. Things
So
are
it's-
better.
I was on here, I know when we did it, but I can't remember exactly when. But so how's things holding up?
Right, so for us, things are better. There's still a few dead areas out there, but it's better. It's the folks that don't have these radios that it's difficult for. But for us, for the sheriff's office, from our perspective, it's better. I don't have guys complaining that they're out and they can't talk to anyone.
Yeah, that was kind of the combined dispatch, everything was upgraded at that time.
Correct.
So a couple of things that I would like to see, since we gotta go back to the drawing board anyhow. The first thing I'd like to see is I'd like to see the vendor make some concessions. Last time he was in here and basically brought all the fire departments with him, and it was, you know, let's gang up on the council day or whatever. That's how I took it. The guy talked for 45 minutes or whatever. I was getting beat up on the thing. I felt like it. Money-wise, a lot of the township funding or possible funding for something like these radios could come from the township level. We could get some help there, I think, in most of the townships.
Okay.
So I think we need to investigate that for sure. I mentioned it last time.
Okay.
The vendor, I said, you know, he needs to come in and, I mean, he hasn't come down at all to help it work. He's actually gone up 15,000 on the radios and 75,000 on the infrastructure. So I think we need to hold him to task a little bit on that. And then we have to find out if there's any grant money available. I don't know if we've looked into that for the infrastructure, not for radios. I know you guys do grant stuff already for the radio side.
We'll
somewhat.
look at grants for the infrastructure.
Is it possible? I don't know.
I don't know.
Can we, at least we could look into it, I think.
Not available through the federal government
Okay.
on the VHF.
Just to add, I learned that, you know, in talking with the fire chiefs, I learned that, you know, they get money from the township taxes. I learned that primarily covers insurance and fuel. And then a lot of them survive off of donations and then maybe a grant cycle that would come around.
Most of the townships, yes, from a routine budgeting thing, but most of the townships have a little bit, they're kind of like the council. They got some money set back here and there for different projects that
Yeah, but-
can go.
The problem with that, it has to be in that fund,
Sure.
and a lot of the townships don't have that,
Don't have that.
they don't have that much extra.
Yeah.
So what I learned was some of them, you know, they have limited resources, but
Yeah.
they do the best they can with them. But
Well, we
like-
all have limited resources,
Right,
too.
right, and we all do the best we can with what we have, yeah.
What kind of timeframe or do we want here, or are we looking at, or?
Well, I mean, if we did our due diligence, maybe in the next 30 days, could we have an answer? Because it's gonna, from what I understand, like if a decision was made today, it's gonna be 4 to 6 months before the infrastructure's in place.
I think that's right.
I do want to commend Steve. I've worked with him on this project and Scott, and they've been meeting with a lot of people, so they've been doing the legwork on a lot of this. Maybe not got down to the bones, Tom, but they have been putting a lot of time and effort into it extra, so I want to commend them on the job that they're doing and working. So.
Well, certainly, it's one of the most important
It's
things.
very important.
that we do. Safety and security of the public. I mean, that's it.
Well, you also got a volunteer basis.
Right.
They're doing everything on their own.
Well, yeah, they are. Heard a figure here just recently, volunteer firemen save the state of Indiana approximately $24 billion a year. Yeah, if we can work through some details, then I think the end result would be we'll have like a standalone countywide radio system that all first responders can use.
Yeah, I think when Mike came in last time and he's like, you know, the eclipse is coming, let's go, and then it's like, you can't have the equipment by the eclipse, Mike. Yeah, he kind of turned some people the wrong way. But, no, it's very important, and I definitely think we should look at it and look deeper.
We need to sit, one of us needs to sit down with you, and we need to look at all the numbers, make sure we're all right, and put everything on a spreadsheet, compare everything, because there's other funds that money can be pulled from, but some of those funds are getting hit pretty hard too. So that's our job then, to see where we can come up with and what we can come up with. Simultaneously see what each township could do. Maybe some can do some, maybe some can't. But at the end of the process, we do need to figure out what we can get done, and I know time is of the essence, so one of us can get with you.
Sure.
And Jen's got numbers, and we can spread them out and see what we can do.
Okay.
Are you volunteering for that, Tony, or?
Sounds good.
I'll get with you.
Okay. All right.
That wasn't why I opened my mouth. My plate's a little full.
Right.
I'd just like to say we got some of the firemen back here in the back, and believe me, we appreciate what you all do. And I hope that we can put our heads together and figure out a way to make this happen, and sooner than later. It's desperately needed, and hopefully we can find some buckets of money here that we could pull some funding out to help these guys get what they need to protect all of us at the end of the day, and to help the sheriff's department out and all the other departments that need help at those times when these guys get called voluntarily to go out and do this. So hopefully we can get our Ps and Qs together and get this project moving forward.
Yeah, I definitely don't think this is taken lightly, and I agree with Mike, and let's kind of get down to brass tacks and see what we can get done.
Have you been to, did you go to the commissioners meeting with it also? Okay,
You know, we're the funding base, so
yeah.
Yeah,
Any other questions for me or anything at this time?
thanks, Steve.
All right.
Appreciate all the time you put into it.
Sure.
Yeah, Scott, you too, as well. Anybody else who's involved, Julie, I know you've been doing some work as
And
well.
then- whatever we come up with, we'll email us and you and sheriff and go from there.
All right,
I'd be glad to help, Tony.
all right,
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, additional appropriations. Out of the general fund, we have voter registration, and it's for group health insurance. Okay, so Lauren has an associate, I think it's clerk's office, right? Yeah.
Correct, so basically, when budgets were done, this was an add-on to a new employee that she got, and they now take out insurance, and they didn't before, and this is a single budget, so we just need to get the benefit side of this taken care of.
So moved.
Moved by Mike Myers. Second? Is there a second? Darren Holder? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? 7-0. Out of the rainy day fund, we have office equipment. This is for the color copier. I know we've all been discussed in email through the auditor's office there. And it's a request for $4,850 for the replacement of the color copier. I'd entertain a motion for
So
approval.
moved.
Tony,
Moved.
approved by, or motion by Tony.
Second.
Second by Mike Sprinkle. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Carried. This is, next one is Adult Protective Services. It's appropriation request from grant funds. It needs to be spent by September. Total is $17,806.97.
Is that all grant money?
All grant money, yes.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mike Myers, second by Marilyn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Okay, the next one is the Health Issue and Challenges Grant. This is the Social Security and Medical with $765. The perf of 1120 and the 8115 we already did in the, okay. So it's through the health department. It's a $10,000 grant we discussed previously. Moved by Matt. Second, is there a second? Second by Darren Holder. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? 7-0. Okay, I saw him walk in very timely there. Judge Murray.
Yeah, I was taking out the trash. I mean, I'm in a new place and do my own work.
Amy still comes over.
She does. My ask was for, $2,000, I think it was $2,000.
Yes.
Transfer from one of my existing structures to the other. It's no new money. It's for uniforms, and I know there's probably a divided opinion on that, but I want to at least make my argument. So the people we're dealing with are many times not native English speakers, or they are, I mean, they're perhaps struggling academically anyway. And so many times they're arrested, they're brought to the security center where they're housed in jail for a period of time, then they're asked to report back to the security center for court. And that's created a degree of confusion for the individuals that are coming in, and they don't know if some think they're going right back to jail, they don't know or appreciate the separation of powers issue. That's the issue I'm looking at from the perspective of many of our unrepresented defendants. The other issue is that although the sheriff has been more than gracious and the people that are working there have welcomed us, there's an issue with when people walk in the door, they think everybody is working in the same office. And I don't like for sheriff's office people who have enough responsibilities to have to cover us. So my goal is to make my people individually more recognizable, and even have a sign up that says the people that can help you with court are wearing red today, or basically any color but brown will work. And set them apart for that reason alone, for the perspective of the people that we're here to serve. The second part is, in my continuing duty as a judge now, I have to maintain the appearance of impropriety and the appearance of fairness at all times. And to a lot of people, it looks like I'm on a side. Not only was I the former prosecutor for 20 plus years, either chief deputy, I'm also in the security center. So it's important to say, hey, although we are here at the grace of the sheriff's office and the commissioners, we are not them. We are set apart from them. And my ask is not for new money, it's for a transfer of money to them so that they can designate themselves so that we can absorb that work. And the other thing I would say is that it is a perk for them, but if you approach this as a business, and I'll just let you know, I mean, I'm constantly running internal metrics, and we are almost 200 cases fewer than we were when I started 60 days ago. People talk about the backlog. That is going to get knocked out. I mean, we approach this like a business. Every 30 days, we post our numbers, and they have to be better than the 30 days previous. And for that to happen, there's a lot of work that has to get done, and has to get done in the moment. So yeah, is this a perk for them? It is. But that's a secondary consideration whenever you look at it from the view of the people that we are here to serve and to work with. So that's the reason for the ask, and I would be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
So, Dan, a question that I have, and it's just numbers, okay?
Sure.
So, how many staff, how many pieces of clothing are you looking at?
So,
and price per?
5 people,
Yeah.
5 days of clothing. What does this equal out to be? $400 a piece? So, I mean, I'm not great at buying women's clothes, but I'd say that's probably still a discount compared to what it.
Well, one thing that floated around, I'm not sure, maybe when you were still with the prosecutor, but they were talking about for each department, for visibility's sake, lanyards and things. Could you do colored lanyards that offset, like neon yellow where the judges, because then, people could wear what they wanted and not be in uniform. I'm just thinking purely cost effectiveness.
So let's talk about cost for a minute. One of my main goals is to return some money back to you. But I keep wondering why I should do that if I don't get cooperation from the council. I'm being straight with you. Like, what's my incentive to be good? Right?
Well,
I'm asking for $2,000 of no new tax money, and I'm getting nickel and dimed. So let me answer your question.
Yeah.
The people we're talking about don't appreciate the subtlety of the law. We had a jury trial about a month ago, and people were, and I'm not exaggerating this, climbing this fence to try to get into that courtroom because they were worried about missing court. This has to be an open and obvious front for everyone. And that's why I'm asking for something like this.
Judge Murray, one of the things you're saying is because you actually have your court now moved to the security center.
Right.
You're in there with the
sheriff's office.
The sheriff's office, which is
The brown people.
a different group of folks.
We literally have a room, an intake room, where there's a sheriff's office person and a court person. And the idea that there's an appreciation of the difference, even for sophisticated people, is asking too much. And this is not an every year ask. This is not a continuing proposition. And this is based on specific circumstances that you and I both hope will be gone 14 months or approximately there.
We hope.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is, but it is a situation that I'm up against.
Well, I hate that you feel nickel and dimed. We're not, as a council, we're looking at every department, not just one. And so we know that if we grant this, we turn down, her department, we turn down everybody else, and then they're gonna come back asking for the same thing, and we gotta look at everybody.
Let's talk about the difference between,
I know, yeah, I know.
there's a huge difference between treating everybody the same and treating everybody fairly. Okay, grandma treats everybody the same on Christmas Day to make sure everybody has the same presents. Treating individuals fairly is different. My argument has always been, let each office holder or let each department head who's either elected or appointed to a leadership position come in and make their case on the evidence. Either they win or they lose on the evidence. Otherwise, all you're gonna get is whining, complaining, or even worse, condescension. I made my case on the evidence, I'll win or lose with it. But the idea that you have to treat everyone the same because one department said yes, that doesn't flow for me. That's not what real decision makers do.
You're also saying this is not an annual request.
No, I'm saying this is a 1 year to get me through this weird time, and it is one situation that's presented itself that I see, that I still have to struggle to tell people, like, look, no, you're not going to, even though you're in jail today, you're not going to jail today because they're nervous about their situation. And it's just a way to separate us from them, keep them from, like I said, they couldn't have been more gracious. We moved in, I feel like I'm living in somebody's basement, and they're like, I'm imposing every day, but they don't, that's not the thing they're doing. But I don't want to put any more work on them, right? Come on over on a Tuesday and see how it goes. It's bonkers. I mean, it really is. But we are stepping up and moving the freight, and that's what we're gonna keep doing.
If I could add something just for a tidbit, is the fact that I know this has been an issue in other counties, is that whenever you add the benefit of clothing, it is supposed to be a taxable wage. So that is something, if this does go through, it needs to appear on a W-2 as well to be taxed, and that's something that we would need to be aware of.
That's fine. I mean,
Ken, does that also apply like the sheriff's uniforms and so forth?
I would have to verify, but I think they're exempt because of their status of what they are. I found a little manual when I was just trying to Google it real quick, and police officers are mentioned in it. I'd have to read it word for word, and then reach out to other counties and how they've been directed based off of their
You don't need to go that
situations.
far, Jen. I'm not trying to get these guys paid for uniforms too. I was just curious.
We got the highway department too.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, highway
Correct.
department,
I don't disagree, Judge, of what your thing is. I'm just looking at costs, because that's what my job is, so.
I have a question about that. This isn't a new cost.
No, I know, I understand that, but, one thing that we're gonna look at the end is if we budgeted this and we moved it, why did we not have that extra in the first place?
Because
Something.
it was asked for, you turned it down. Have you listened to the recording? I have, Mr. Sprinkle. Where you talk about, we're not doing that, and I would listen to it again sometime if I were you. I won't go into it in a public meeting, but it's unfortunate the way that comes up. But here you go. Say no. Fine. I'm just saying,
I just
I've
wanna
made
make
a
sure,
case.
I just wanna make sure that we've thoroughly, I think it's a good thing, Dan.
Let me ask you this. Would you, I haven't bought a robe yet. Would you pay for that?
What was that again?
A robe, like,
Oh, road.
would you pay for that? Think about that, would you? Probably, right? But why?
I would ask what's been done in the past.
Like,
I don't know
I
that.
don't know the answer.
What's
I don't know.
precedent?
I think historically the county council pays for the robe.
We'd have to look
I
that
don't know.
up. I don't know what
I
precedent.
think that's right, but why? Well, look, if I had my choice, I'll pay for my own robe. I mean, it is, you know that?
You're buying a robe?
You can donate one.
I would say that there, Grant Swartzentruber, I would say that there's something to, and I'm not saying this because he's the judge, but there's something to the erosion of like formality that you're seeing.
Gotcha.
And people do tend to treat these various bodies as the same thing. I mean, people think that at times I am a prosecutor or something, or that I'm the attorney for them because they work for the county. I'm like, no. So there's some importance in distinguishing who's who and what's what, especially in this period of time where it's odd. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Grant. I do, this is a special circumstance. It's a one-time request. He is down at the security center with his court. That's a fact.
And I have no complaint. I mean, like, I'm not complaining about my office. I'm not complaining about my courtroom. I'm looking at this from the perspective of people who are coming in there. And I guess, look, I was probably too harsh with the nickel and dime thing, but here's what bothers me. Is I work behind the scenes on big projects that save hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I get pushback on a couple $1,000. Kind of grating. Kind of bothers me a little. So leave it at that.
Thank you, Judge
We'll go
Murray.
into detail.
I appreciate, my goal is to do our diligence.
I
And we appreciate your time as well, so thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
Thanks. Further discussion by the council?
Well, I'd initially thought, maybe we could do something with name badges or something. After hearing the judge explain it and sitting here trying to put myself in the position of someone who is in this unfortunate situation of having to go in there, I can certainly see his point that, the legal system says you're innocent until proven guilty, and your first introduction to it is you're in the jail. And it's only gonna be there hopefully for, like, say, 14 months. So I can support this as a one-time thing, and if someone else from another department wants apparel like this, we can say, well, are you working in the jail? Are you working, if you're the highway department, are you sleeping out in the highway every night, so.
Very good point. Matt?
This is what I'd like to say. Judge Murray, I appreciate your comments, and you answered all my questions based on that dialogue, which I appreciate, because that's what I would like to continue to have with all departments. Because of the temporary nature of this, I am for it. But I just want to make sure all my questions were answered before that, so thank you for your time.
It is a different situation, and everybody knows how I feel about clothing, but I support it. He is in a different situation. We talk about nickel and dime, and we're talking about infrastructure of 600,000, and we got a budget of 40 million. And it isn't new money. It is a unique situation upstairs there. Yeah, I support it.
I'll even make the motion to approve it.
Motion by Matt,
Second.
second by Mike,
Let Tony have it.
We're good.
second by
Whatever.
Mike Myers. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried 7-0.
Thanks, Judge.
Okay, under miscellaneous information, Daviess County Airport Report. Matt, you have anything to comment on the airport?
I really don't, and I think there is a little bit of misnomer, because I'm not on that board.
Oh.
No, I can't have two lucrative offices.
I see.
Even though it's not paid, I can't ask requests and then grant them. So, but I am involved a lot. They'll have a meeting tomorrow. I'll know more information. They did not have one last month. I zoom into those meetings,
Okay,
and so when I can next month, I'll report on what we find out this month.
very good, thank you. And we have a letter from the Daviess County Historical Society Board. Any other business? From the public? Mr. Schwarzentuber? They're not all running up there yet, so you better go.
After that, two opposite.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just kidding. Okay. A couple things from yesterday from the commissioners, some simple things, some housekeeping things. There's going to be a standing on-site inspection after the commissioners' meetings over at the courthouse. I would encourage the council to be involved with that. I think we are going to put out a proper notice such that it's just known by the public. This is not a meeting. You are not invited to attend. It's an on-site inspection for visiting this particular project. And we'll probably do that regularly. And again, I would invite you all to attend that if you're able
Will
to
we
make.
be notified by email?
Going to happen after every commissioner meeting.
Okay,
So it's proper under the open door law, on-site inspections. They're not meetings. They're not open to the public. I would ask you to keep it to that. Don't go outside of what you're supposed to be doing. So just FYI. Jen, anything on that? At the last council meeting, we had some discussion about figuring out some of these significant tax appeals. And I want to make sure that we figure that out. So not asking you to do anything right now other than let's figure that out so we don't have depletion from the general fund that we really don't understand why that's happening. I just want to make sure that somebody knows what's going on and why. Be it the council, the commissioners, the PETA BOA, the assessor, somebody. But I do want to circle back on that. So let's try to address that in the next week or so, if we can.
What was your plan to address that? You had a plan, didn't you, on it?
We were going to connect with the assessor. A couple of council people were going to assist me with that, such that we just understand why these happened. Because it's not that it was wrong. It's just that, well, why did it happen? And how do we prevent it going forward? We only want to assess and collect what we're supposed to get, right? We don't want to have it come in and then leave.
Yeah.
And be like, that was.
You're trying to do this next week, you're saying?
We talked about it last meeting, and I haven't gotten the follow-up information. Just
Well,
bringing it back up so that we got it.
there wasn't follow-up because that was Matt and I.
Okay.
And we did not meet, and we discussed because we thought the email that we received took care of all that.
So it clarifies that in my opinion, the claim has to be paid. I mean, it has to be paid. It was put before the commissioners, it's paid. But it's a purely fiscal question as to, well, why did this happen?
Okay.
Why? And that's what I want to address. It's not whether or not that money goes back out, but let's stop it so it doesn't keep happening.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Last meeting, it was us, and we thought it was taken care of. We will address it.
Yeah. And Jen, am I missing something? Did we figure out why this happened, or is it still unclear?
In my understanding, it went to the assessor because the taxpayer brought it forth as they didn't see that the assessment was adequate. And between those two parties, she readjusted, and that's what created the refund. The whys and the details of that was not disclosed to us.
That's what I want to figure out. Thank you.
Please.
Sure. One last thing. So there's discussion about the sale of the salt building. And this is becoming kind of just a purely fiscal matter that I just want to make sure that you all are looped in on. We put this out to bid to sell the old salt building. And I brought this up before, but because it was discussed again yesterday, I'm bringing it to you again. We received 2 bids, and it's again been tabled. Those bids didn't meet the average of 2 appraisals. And it's public record. The notice that we put out said $95,000 and tell us what you're going to do with it. Shortly before we reviewed those, Nathan Gabhart was saying, well, maybe we want to hang on to this because it could be helpful for community corrections in the future. Okay. At the meeting, there's still some interest in getting rid of it if we don't need it, obviously, but we can't simply get rid of it at a sub-market price and just be like, well, whatever. That's not what we're able to do. So we had a bid at $61,000 and one at $75,000. In my opinion, neither of them really said that they wanted it badly, and they didn't even meet the bid spec, to be honest. So we can still move on that. There's a variety of ways that we can move it under the statute, but we have extended the period of time for people to put in bids. There were a few people that reached out even after that 60 days, but it's again a question for you all. We've got something that's allegedly worth $95,000. You just want to move it, Or is there potentially a function for it in the future? I don't mind if the building gets moved. I don't mind if it stays. In my time with the county, I don't know that it has been used. So I don't know what the rush is either, but if the commissioners and council want to move the building, so be it. If they want to hang on to it for a purpose for the future, so be it. That's the purpose of my
So is that a
comments.
joint decision? That's strictly a commissioner decision, isn't it?
Purely fiscal decisions are gonna be yours. You won't necessarily have to, like when we're buying something, you have to say that you want to buy it. Council does. If we're gonna sell something for less than what it appraised for, I want the council to say, yeah, we're good with that. To me, that only makes sense as a purely fiscal body.
Makes sense.
Okay, so what you're saying is individually, maybe we need to, not that we haven't, but take a look at it and then next meeting say what we think on our side we need to do.
What I would request maybe is just that the auditor's office provide the bids and the public bid notice to the council. Just send it to them if they don't have it already, just so that they can see that and weigh in on their opinion. If you want to move it, we'll figure out a way to move it. If you think that there's a reason to hang on to it, then we hang on to it.
So is there anybody that's, you say community corrections has identified a potential need, or?
Well, community corrections, I don't speak for Laura at all, because I don't even know that she cares or wants to say anything. But it is right across from where community corrections is at. We lease that ground that we're on. I mean, we've got some trailers, for lack of a better term, that sit on that property, and we lease the ground. It's right across from there. It doesn't mean that the salt building property is appropriate for the same purpose. I have no opinion on that. I'm overwhelmingly neutral on most of this. I just don't want us to sell something at sub-market if there's gonna be a use for it. It's hard for us to get stuff. We have to follow certain processes, like when we started on this project, we had to go all the way around and get these things. We do have this. I'm a little, I don't know, I would question us simply getting rid of something that we may have a use for.
At a price that really wasn't competitive, you're saying?
It didn't even meet the bid specs, so I'm gonna have to go through a few other steps if we want to get rid of it. And I'm just questioning, I mean, is that wise? I don't know.
Is that property locked? Is it secure where I could go down and look at the building? Just to see what the shape of it is? Is it? Okay.
I'm sure Chris has it, though, at the.
Scott
county-
Schneier or some of the guys here could
Okay.
easily get you in. When people asking about, another option is just to increase the level of interest. And maybe there is somebody that would meet the midpoint of 2 appraisals and say, yeah, I'd take it, and this is what I'm gonna do with it, and et cetera, et cetera. But before that, like, why? Does that make sense?
Yeah, good point.
Those are the only things I wanna cover. Anything else for me?
Nope, thank you.
Sir.
Any other business to present? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mike Sprinkle, second. By Darren. All those in favor?
Aye.
I don't think there's gonna be anyone opposed. 7-0. Thank you.